Welcome, everybody, to the Assuminati podcast.
Hey, welcome in. Thanks for
Hi, guys.
Oh,
hey, fellas.
I love the energy. Love it. We're just a couple of guys, actually three to be exact, giving our opinions and just assuming there's something happening. There's some definitions that we'll be going over today. That might be one of them. Just giving our opinions, and we're just assuming there's something going on behind the scenes, especially with last week's episode. We like to thank everybody who listened to us regarding cryptocurrencies. We hope you enjoyed that. Let us know what you thought. Again, no advice was implied or given when it comes to finances. Just wanted to repeat that for the 50th time.
No financial advice was given.
And
Not
none
a
will be
single
given.
thread.
None will be given this episode either. What we're diving into is very similar, though. We're going to keep this mysterious.
It is a mystery, isn't it?
A lesser known subject in the world out there, but man, it's everywhere. You see it left and right, especially if you watch just a little bit of TV or surf the intranets. You're going to see an ad for cryptocurrencies. You may also see news stories on what are called NFTs, which is what this week's episode is on. So we're excited to dive into it, what the heck it even means, what it means for you, why you should care, and what the future of NFTs might bring, what that might look like. So that's kind of some of the stuff we're going to dive into. We're going to turn it over once again to Uncle Crypto / NFT Bobby for a little bit more information on what these NFTs are, why we should care.
Well, I don't care, but
okay, end of episode. Wrap it.
End of episode. But if you asked me about this like 6 weeks ago, I'd say, what the heck is an NFT? In fact, I texted you guys a few weeks ago. I was like, what's up with this NFT stuff? We should figure this out, because I read an article about these crazy ladies that were selling pictures of ducks as NFTs and making like buku bucks. And I was like, you know what? These aren't even cool pictures. We should do this. But let's talk about what is an NFT. So it's a non-fungible token.
What'd you say?
A non-fungible token. Does that make sense? You guys know what it is now?
Fungible. That sounds fun. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, non-fungible probably doesn't give you any more information. So really what non-fungible is it means it's unique. It can't be replaced with something else. So last week we talked about cryptocurrency, and that Bitcoin is fungible as opposed to non-fungible, meaning you could trade it for another Bitcoin.
Are you saying fungible?
Yeah,
going with the hard G in there?
Ooh. Yeah, fungible. Fungible.
That's fungible.
I don't know how fun it is, but it's fungible.
Those hard G's are tough for some people to pronounce, but keep going. Yeah, there
yes.
we go.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some dialects, Matt, that, does not come out the same. But anyway, so these NFTs are non-fungible tokens, meaning it is unique. It's one of a kind. It is an original. So if you're into artwork and you went to a museum, you'll see very pretty works of art. One you may have seen before is the Mona Lisa. Right? You guys have seen the Mona Lisa?
I've heard of it.
Yes. Famous. There was an original, but there's also lots of copies out there. So having a non-fungible token, it is a way of selling essentially artwork. So people out there, they've been doing things, doodling some things, putting it up on the internet, but they essentially put it out on that blockchain we talked about last week. And once it's put on that blockchain, what it's doing is putting a record in time of this non-fungible token, and someone can pay for it, trade some cryptocurrency for it. Typically, these NFTs are going to be on the Ethereum network, but there are other cryptocurrencies that you can, or blockchains you can trade it on, but Ethereum's kind of where it started. But anyways, they put it on there, and then if now I put it out there and Matt chooses to buy it, there is now a record that for all time, eternity, and longer that says Matt is now the owner of this NFT. So, and then it can be traded just like cryptocurrency. But essentially it means you own it. Nobody else can own that original.
That's
So,
correct. And let me just add to your definition here, Robert, because you can also get not just visual art NFT, but you can get other art types NFT as well. And I think music now is one that kind of piques my interest. You can now have music NFTs, which I think is going to be the future of how music is bought and sold, because currently there's not a whole lot of money in art, music art for the musician, right? But music NFTs could change that, and pretty soon. So that might be something to consider too, if you're in the
mhm.
music industry, or if you're putting out music an artist. That can be now put out as NFT. I think there's one of the bands. There's some band that just came out with a full album out for as an NFT.
Yeah.
First one to do it. But anyway, it's now out there, and that's just another one of the
Yeah. It's a
things.
great platform for artists because it allows them a way to put it out there, to sell it, have a record, and then you can get royalties as this sells in the future, right? So the original person to sell it can, no matter who sells it down the line, can get a royalty. But there, you could have something that's truly original, can only be sold once. Well, sold to one person at a time, I guess. But then there's other things. It could be like a trading card where, there's 50 copies of it out there until that means 50 people can own it. So just like real artwork, like I have some really cool Star Wars paintings that I picked up in the Chicago O'Hare Airport, but they're like, there's only so many copies of this that were ever produced and will forever be produced. And so the idea is that they'll be worth more money someday because you cannot just go procure this item. So that's kind of like NFTs, only it's very much digital. They have tried doing physical objects as NFTs, but I don't think that that's really like taken off necessarily, but the technology could be used to say, this is how you transfer ownership of a car, for example.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting stuff for sure.
Yeah. So, Brandon, why don't you tell us about some examples of
Well,
some of these crazy things you've seen?
I like Matt's. Let's go with what Matt was talking about earlier, music. I thought that was super interesting because yeah, it's been dubbed the fine art future of the world, but it's so much more than that. It's so much more than an image. There's like he said, music. I think I'll use Exhibit A, Snoop Dogg. So we all know him. He's everywhere.
Who is he?
He's in every commercial. He was at 2 or 3 commercials during the Super Bowl and the halftime show. I mean, everywhere. Well, he's not just a hustler on TV. He purchased the original Death Row Records that that he premiered on way back in the 90s. And he's turning his record label into an NFT record label. It's really interesting. I recommend everybody go Google that story. It's really, I don't fully understand what the plan or what the vision is there. But you're right. They can collect more royalties this way. You can own one of Snoop Dogg's new songs for $5,000. You can actually own one of his songs as an NFT.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's many other people that will own that with you, versions of that, but that it will be a limited supply.
Yep.
That people can trade for in the future. I'm just zipping through some of the headlines here. Just again, this is March episode is airing. They, like Bob Dylan, for example, Universal and Sony spent $500 million recently buying out his catalog. That made some big headlines. They're flipping, or they're turning around, and they're beginning to make NFTs with Bob Dylan with his own music. I thought that was interesting. And Dolly Parton, this, I don't know, love or hate her, one of the greatest songwriters of all time. So some of the things that she's got going on, I'd recommend looking this up. So she's releasing an album. Now, how she's hyping this album and making it more interactive with her fans, she's releasing the album, she's releasing NFTs related to the album, and she's writing a book with novelist James Patterson. So it's a triple threat here, promoting this new album coming out, and she's using the blockchain, these NFTs to promote
What's
that.
cool about that is like Dolly Parton's old. Okay.
Yeah.
She's old. There's just no way around it.
Yeah,
Right. But she's still willing to get on this new technology to do that stuff.
hmm
I think
Which
that's pretty cool.
it was super surprising to hear Dylan was okay with looking into things like that.
Well, he's retiring. Like he's sold out. And
And
there's actually a lot of these older artists that are basically cashing out because what they get paid on royalties from like Spotify or Pandora, whatever, is, it's pennies for every
really
time
is.
it's played. And so they're looking at it and it's like, I can sell the whole thing and I won't get any more money, but like I'm getting millions for it right now.
As far as the strategy behind using NFTs to interact with your fans and to gain better royalty access as a musician is genius. It's just like the cryptocurrencies we went over last week. You're cutting out some of those middlemen. You're coming straight to the source. I can go straight to this marketplace that this artist has created this song or this art piece, and I can interact almost directly with that artist. That's kind of cool. I can pay them millions of dollars for these works of art, so to speak.
Yeah, so the music definitely makes sense to me, but tell me about some of these pictures.
So the pictures of the bizarre, that's probably the more popular one, or the more popular subject when it comes to NFTs, is this art movement. Now, like you said earlier, Robert, there's only one Mona Lisa. But how many copies of the Mona Lisa have you seen?
They're everywhere.
Billions. But there's prestige that comes with owning the original. And that's the same thing that's happening with NFTs. Yes, I can screenshot this crazy cat / Pop-Tart flying through the air that sold for millions of dollars. We'll throw up some pictures for those watching our YouTube. And I can screenshot that all day. But do I own the original? I don't. It's just a copy. And so that's where these unique non-fungible tokens come into play. You own the original, which is kind of cool, especially if they're a well-known artist. You know that you have the original file that they created, or the original copy that's going viral on the internet. And that brings a little bit of prestige and value in this marketplace. Like Banksy.
He sold some big things on there.
So some of the big artists to look out for and some of the collections, let's just go over that briefly, just so you know what to look up, what to Google, and maybe what to make sense of what you've already seen at this point. The one of the more popular artists out there is Beeple. I'll just say it again. Beeple. Beeple.
Beeple.
You can look it up. Maybe go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and type that in. And he's done interviews with quite a few big names. I think Howard Stern, Rogan, person. But he, once upon a time, committed to making a new art piece per day. And I think it's gone on for thousands and thousands of days. And so he's creating NFTs daily. And they are selling for big money, huge money. Some of them for millions and millions of dollars. The one that really got me looking into NFTs, just because of how cool they looked, was it's the Bored Ape collection. Have you guys seen these?
I have.
So there's a couple different versions here. The more popular one, the one that the original, was the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And so it's a series of these ape images. Sometimes they're selling as collections or singular, and these are going for a lot of money, and people can't get enough of this Bored Ape collection. And there's a couple different versions now. They've created some spin-offs, but they look pretty cool, and they're going for some big money. There's these crypto punk, which are the ones that are really blowing my mind. They're pixelated pictures of just images, and some of these things have gone for millions and millions of dollars, and they're still trading on the secondary market to this day for more and more money.
This reminds me of, I just have to say, so maybe this predates you guys because I'm a little older, but when I was in elementary school and maybe junior high, they had these cards, these trading cards called Garbage Pail Kids.
I remember Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Okay.
Yeah.
So it kind of reminds me of that. It's like you would look for certain Garbage Pail Kids, right? And you would try and get that collection together. Well, it's the same thing. these days, except for a digital version. You know,
Yeah.
well, and the only other thing that's different now is you know, like Brandon, like you said, there's one unique original version, right? And that's the sought after one, right?
Right.
So, and that's where you're going to make the money, but that it's kind of the same thing. It's cyclical. You know,
Yeah.
we have these things that we value, garbage pail kids of all things, to try and collect, but now it's digital. It's just done
Yeah,
digital.
but I gotta say, like garbage pail kids understand it. It was cheap, $1 less. You get a pack, you have fun with it. Pokemon cards, baseball cards, all well and good. Who the bleep are these people spending millions for these little sketches of these monkeys? Yeah, they look cool, but it looks like some dude on the subway was just sketching and was like, doodle, doodle, doodle. Now I'm going to sell it for $1,000,000. That's nuts.
And the ones that are just blowing my mind, like the Bored Ape, you can tell there's some artistry, some cool culture going on there. The crypto punks, I'll throw up some images here. They're really the ones blowing my mind. These are just pixelated images that you can barely make out. One just recently sold for 12 million. Just one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. And then you got these ladies that I read that article about, like, they didn't know how they're going to pay their bills. They were going to lose their little farm, whatever. And they started drawing these ducks and selling them. And like, they've totally saved the farm, turned everything around.
Man.
And yeah, they're kind of cool little pictures, but my gosh, like who's spending that kind of change on a little doodle?
So here's an example of who these people are purchasing these things. So yeah, like Snoop Dogg, for example, he's accumulated 13 to 14 million dollars worth of NFTs over the last couple of years. So he's building an NFT portfolio, and it's already appreciated by millions and millions of dollars. The most expensive NFT recorded. Here's another artist. I know I mentioned Beeple. Pak, Pak, is the one that's right up there with Beeple. So they sold an NFT for $91 million, almost 92.
Oh, wow.
And it was to a total of 30,000 collectors pitching in to purchase it. So these are 30,000 people going in on an investment basically together. This singular NFT. So they all own a piece of this NFT. I thought that was really interesting.
They all own a piece of something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
The most expensive singular owner NFT was Beeple's first 5,000 days. So he took the NFT from each of the first 5,000 days he did it, because he's doing one every day, created a huge compilation collage, I guess you could say, and somebody purchased that for 70 million. Wow. $70 million.
Yeah, some people have less sense than they have money.
Unreal. So it's super, super interesting. I mean, again, these things are being traded as if they are physical, fine pieces of art. Now, I don't know if you've watched any documentaries on actual fine art, physical fine art. That industry is nuts. It is absolutely nuts. Almost, and that once you compare it to the real art world, it's not that far-fetched.
No.
In the real art world, you could have a famous artist put a streak across a black screen, and those are selling for millions of dollars as well. So it's just as crazy. It's just digital, and people want the prestige. How do you display these? Well, for example, Jack Dorsey. Do you guys know who Jack Dorsey is?
The Twitter CEO.
Yeah. He just took a screenshot of the first tweet ever, created an NFT out of it, and it sold for 3 million, for example. He donated proceeds. But these people are setting these NFTs as their profile pictures on their social media pages. So they're showing off their purchases on social media. Some of them are just putting them on a screen in their house as if it is a piece of art. So people come into their mansions and they see the Bored Ape collection, for example, on this person's wall. And it's prestige. I own the original.
Yeah.
And
I just don't understand it. Now, I get artwork to hang in your home, but I've never understood like people that pay millions of dollars for it, right?
It is.
But it's that supply and demand thing. And the real artwork is a lot of tax write-offs for the wealthy, right? So it'd be interesting if that's how this NFTs turn out. But Like, I think it's crazy personally. Like, Uncle Bobby's here to say today, y'all crazy if you're spending $1 million on a digital image.
Oh, crazy. And I
Y'all
think
crazy.
that's I even as we looked into it, and even as I said, okay, I kind of see where this is coming from. It's still well outside of my lifestyle. However, that isn't going to stop us from trying to break in. And so Matt is a good example of that. Matt, you're part of this world, aren't you, Matt?
Absolutely.
Why don't
Just
you walk
this
us?
week.
So Matt, you're going to
Brand
walk us
new.
through. Why don't you walk us through what you
That's right.
recently encountered when it comes to
Yeah,
NFTs?
for sure. So I decided to dip my feet into the water this week and jump in here to the NFT world and create one. So I had to do a little bit of research, but there's a lot of good YouTube videos out on how to create an NFT for yourself and how to sell that NFT out on the marketplace. So I did exactly that. So I'm going to give you the 6-step process to create an NFT and sell that NFT out on the market. So if you're wanting to make some money, if you're wanting to get in the game, here it is. So step one, first you want to create a piece of digital art. So how you want to do that is completely up to you. You can grab a photo, you can put some effects in there, you can create a design, whatever you want to do. There's several different ways to do it. You can use a photo editor. I downloaded one called PixArt. It was free on the App Store, so I. By the way, I should just back up and say that none of these names are are sponsoring this podcast.
Yeah.
They just happen to be apps that I kind of gravitated toward because they were easy to use. Okay, so PixArt was the first thing I did to create my art piece, and all I did was to take a photo that I had and made some digital effects on it. That's it. So now you've got your item for sale. That's step one. Now you want to go ahead and buy some cryptocurrency. If you don't have some already, you need to find a way to do that. And again, I'm not being sponsored here by them, but I used Coinbase to create an account. I know that there are some others. I think Robinhood is one. There's probably a half dozen of those that you can get into, but I used Coinbase, so I had some Bitcoin, and I had some Ethereum already. Um, and so that was my thing. So then step three is you need to set up a digital wallet, which is different than having just a Coinbase or a Robinhood account. Those things are fine, but you need to have a Coinbase wallet to be able to transact and to use your Ethereum or your Bitcoin or whatever. I used Coinbase Wallet, so it's Coinbase's product, I think, but it's a wallet that's separate. It's a separate app from the Coinbase app. So you would just go to the App Store and download Coinbase Wallet, and then you connect those two things. So you just do a connection between your Coinbase Wallet and your Coinbase account. Then you can add money like you would normally for, like, if you're buying stocks, for example. You would just put money from your US dollar from your bank account and connect that. Now that you've got that connection made, you want to go ahead and choose an NFT marketplace. Now there's several of these out there. The one that I gravitated to was OpenSea.io. So that's out there. It's a decentralized app. You go out to that, you create an account, then you can link your Coinbase wallet to that account. And you upload your photo or your artwork or whatever it is that you've created, your NFT. If it's music, fine. You upload that, and then it gives you the option to sell that piece. And that's what I did. Um, some things that I learned, and that's, by the way, the sixth step is selling your artwork. So you can do that. But one thing I didn't consider until this week, and I learned this kind of the hard way, is, first of all, there's a lot of security around these transactions. So if you're doing more than one transaction at a time, your account will be blocked for like 24 to 48 hours. That happened to me. Yeah, that's true. And then the second thing is, all of these, and Robert mentioned this before, all of these need to be compatible with Ethereum. You can't just use Bitcoin, for example, on OpenSea.io. You have to use Ethereum. It has to be that. So that's what else to consider. The other thing is the fees. There are transaction fees or traffic fees associated to each transaction that you make or each sale that you set up for your artwork or your NFT. And they are extremely high right now. So you want to when you're setting your price to sell, you have to set it higher than the fee or you're not going to make any money on your artwork.
You go negative.
So the fee, as of today, March 2nd, 2022, when I checked it earlier today, was almost $75 just for the fee.
Just to
Holy
post your
crap.
artwork for sale?
Yes.
Wow.
But then when it sells, you have to pay another transaction fee, right?
No.
But
No,
the
that is
buyer
your fee. It's
does.
upfront. The buyer does. Yes, that's correct.
So there's a fee for the seller, a fee for the buyer,
Yes.
and then
Is this
when
real
they
estate?
sell it, they pay a seller fee. And the next buyer pays a buyer fee,
That's correct.
and
It's
on
just-
and on and on.
Yeah.
75.
Yeah, so those things I learned the hard way, and that fee fluctuates based on the traffic in the marketplace. So right now it's a super busy marketplace, so there's a lot of traffic, so the fee is extremely high. And when you go to post that item for sale on OpenSea, for example, there's a warning that pops up and tells you what the fee is. So if you didn't set your price right or you set it too low, you're going to end up paying to sell your own work, right? You have to be able to pay to cover that fee, and then anything above and beyond that goes to you.
Wow.
And that, in a nutshell, in a really quick nutshell, there's a lot more to it than that. But what I would recommend is going out to YouTube or DTube or whatever and searching how to set up an NFT for sale. And there's a lot of different videos out there that do a heck of a lot deeper dive than we've just done. But that just gives you kind of a basic understanding of how to put an NFT out there, and how to potentially make some money from those.
Wow.
That's awesome. So let's see it.
So I just sent you, I think, in our chat, so Brandon can display this when we edit. It's called Monday Man. Yeah. And it's out there in OpenSea.io.
I love it.
Anyway,
That looks really good, Matt.
thanks.
I can
worked
feel
really
it. I
hard
feel that
on
one. The title really brings it home. So what happens if it just sits there unsold?
I don't know. I guess I'll find out. There is there's a time frame that you have to put in there, right? So I chose the entire month of March. So mine went up yesterday, or actually early today, so the second day of March, and it has until the end of March to sell.
That's right.
So there you go. I mean, we talked about the whole process, right?
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, that'll be exciting. Maybe we can follow up on a future episode, see how many millions you end up with.
Billions.
Oh yeah, with a B.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I had no idea the fees were that way. They fluctuate based on traffic. That kind of makes sense. Kind of like an Uber prime time or taking advantage of the hot market.
Sure.
So it seems like the market's being flooded right now with NFTs, and it's just a matter of notoriety, I guess. How do these things catch on? How do people find these, and how do they become popular? A couple cute old ladies making some ducks randomly just happen to catch on.
The banana on the wall. You've
Banana.
seen that one, right?
Oh, why
Mhm.
is this happening?
Well, and the crazy part is, even though somebody bought that, like people take copies of it and it's in articles. And so everybody's seeing what they bought
Right.
and they get to see it for free.
So then now that Matt's dipped his toe into the NFT lake, so to speak, and thank you for doing that. We look forward to seeing what happens with that NFT. Robert and I took a stab at it. Here's mine. It's just I just messed around with the skull, the Assuminati logo, just had some fun on Procreate on the iPad, but you never know. That's how some of these other NFTs started, I'm sure. And then Robert, look at this avant-garde. Look at this sexy man here. Staring
Totally
back at us.
sexy.
Woo!
I have not named it yet. So if anybody wants to give this one a name,
Bobby on fire.
put it in the comments.
Something. Yeah, that'd be great to see a name. I think a name can really elevate.
I think so too.
Nice.
It's all about that.
Like yours, Matt. It totally fits. I can feel that. I see the title. I see the picture.
Yeah,
And I
maybe.
screenshot the picture, and now I own it too. Haha.
Right.
You know, we're a bunch of budding artists. You know,
That's correct.
Or something.
You heard it now.
We're
Like this
something.
is where we got our start. Like we're gonna be the next Banksies. Less graffiti, but you
A
know,
little bit.
popular.
A little less performance. That's fun. So I guess we'll see you in the metaverse, huh? With my cryptocurrencies and my NFT art and music.
Yeah.
Yep. All my NFTs will be on people's metaverse house. That they
Yeah.
create.
Totally jumping into the metaverse. So anyway, that's it for today's episode of the Assuminati podcast. Today we talked about NFTs. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Join us again next week, and we're gonna dive into the metaverse. If you don't know what it is, next week is for you. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you like to listen to your podcasts. Share it with your friends, your family, like us on Facebook, and comment what you thought of today's episode. Until next week, have a great one.
Thanks for listening.
The end.
Bye.
Ciao. Ciao. All business, all the time.
Non-fungible, Bobby.
The non-fungible Bobby.
Fungible.
Fungible.
Yes.
Non-fungible.
So you
Who knows? This stuff is like somebody's pulling the strings somewhere, right?
Hey,
somewhere, somehow.
someone is. There's something going on here.
Yeah. Your chair's crooked.
Or am I crooked?
I'm just going to screenshot all these NFTs and give them to the people.
Mhm. Yeah, it's for free. Free 93. Get your free monkeys.
Yeah.
Have you rebooted your computer recently?
Turned it off and then turned it back on again. Yeah.
No. Maybe I should.
Have you tried dropping it on the floor?